All right, welcome back, Elena. Great to see you again. Let's talk about some overall health and energy today. Why wouldn't we? You ready?
Yes.
Okay, so oftentimes, and it happens to me every once in a while, people say, "Oh, I don't have energy." I feel like, and actually, in my 20s, I've been working a lot and going to school and all of these things, and I felt like, you know what, even after like a really good night of sleep, catch up, and etc., even a few nights of sleep, I would feel really run down and feel tired. And so I was just okay. I just need more rest. I just need more vacation. Or now, in kind of this time of peptides, I just need NAD or I just need glycine or whatever that is, right? So, what are your thoughts on energy and how people feel, and maybe you even have a case study for us?
So some people sometimes they're like, I'm just tired. I just need more rest. Or I heard of NAD. Maybe that's what I need. And, I actually had someone approach me and say they were quoted like $800 for an IV of NAD. And she's like, that's just not in my budget for one time NAD to do that. Although maybe it might help my fatigue concerns. And basically, what I explained to her is okay, I mean, NAD wouldn't hurt, but it's not going to solve all your problems per se, especially one dose of it. Initially, what you want to do is you want to get a blood test, and you need a detailed blood test. When you go to your doctor, they'll do a comprehensive panel, check your liver, kidney function. They'll do a blood count, but they won't. A lot of times, like I sometimes don't even see them checking B12 or iron, even though I feel like that everyone should have that checked, vitamin D. And what you sometimes see is that you'll get it checked and then the blood work will be normal. And the doctor will say, okay, everything's great. So why do I feel so tired? The thing is that doctors are taught that if it's within range and it doesn't flag, it doesn't turn red, that's fine. That's amazing. Like that's you're within range, but that range is like it's a mean estimate of what different people are. So say just for example, your B12 natural on I don't know, this lab's normal range is from 275 to 1000. So if you're tired and it comes back at 300, it wouldn't flag. So when someone's checking it, since they're like rushing through it, nothing's flagging. So someone's going to be like, it's everything's fine, even though you really need more B12. Like 300 is, you could just say it's low. Even 383, that's low. I would say anything below 500 is really considered low. And if it's not above 500, then it really could be affecting you, even though the doctor said it's completely fine. Oh, you're within normal range. Same thing goes with iron. I've seen so many people low in iron. And, maybe, I don't know, like they think it's fine because it's within range, but it's really in the low range. And if you look at it, it's like close to that inkling down to 40 versus 150 or it's very low. The ferritin reserve is low and that could really be affecting you. And until you boost just those simple things, you won't be able to tell. Sometimes, to be honest with you, sometimes even thyroid gets missed. Like people check your TSH, your thyroid stimulating hormone, like your thyroid hormone, right? And they just check that. And then, okay, it's 3, right? But if you check the anti TPO titers, you could see that it's elevated. What does that mean? But it's within range. Well, it's within range, but your thyroid antibodies are up. That means there's an autoimmune situation happening here. Doesn't mean you have hypothyroidism full blown right now, but it looks like Hashimoto's thyroiditis is creeping up somewhere, and there's something happening there. And if you check those labs, you could actually catch it before and support the thyroid before it becomes full blown issue where let's go to your endocrinologist, let's put you on some Synthroid. So why not just start with selenium? Why not do an anti-inflammatory diet to help before the problem is that when you go to your doctor, you don't get treated for before the problems start and it's a big problem. It's like you only get treated when you already have a severe problem. And even then, oh, your vitamin D is 28. That's fine. You don't need a supplementation. let's wait until it's 9. And then let's take 1,000 IU daily, which is not going to do much. And they don't tell them to take the right one, the right dose. And now the guidelines came out with that you don't need such a high dose of vitamin D. And I'm like thinking, they trying to kill us? Like, what do you mean? We live in New York. Of course you need a high dose of vitamin D. You're not going to be able to function. Like, it does help with your immune system. So just overall, you need to see what your deficits are before you go, you know what? I think I just need a quick fix. I need an NAD. I need this. I need that. So I feel like the standard doctor does not get they learn this stuff, but they learn them more broad. Like, as long as it doesn't flag, it's normal. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
the normal has always really scared me because in New York, the PCP, the 2 pages, the CBC and the CMP, right, the two blood work panels are completely normal according to my PCP, right, which I don't have anymore, but probably should. But anyway, maybe not. But the those panels only look at 3 out of 6 thyroid parameters. So according to those, I've always been healthy and normal. And then I go to a functional doctor, and they run 6 plus indicators. And according to that, I have full blown Hashimoto, hypothyroidism, and all of those different things, leaky gut, and everything else. So to me, normal is always now scary when I hear the word normal. Um, and in New York State, which I believe it's the only state that doesn't even allow you to test certain things, which to me is completely crazy. Like, why do the government of New York, care about me testing things for my health so that I could be healthier? And I think the answer there is obvious, right?
I don't think they care as much for certain things as long as they don't have to pay for it. And even
Well,
then, there's certain. I don't know. You're exactly right. Why does New York care to bar certain testing here, but in Florida, go ahead, full. You could do whatever you want there. You're right. I mean, I don't know what it is. Is it the population? Like, what is it?
so what you're saying is that typically, and I'm going to simplify this a little bit, but what I hear you say is that if you feel tired, obviously that's not normal, right? If you feel tired and you know that you're like getting the sleep, the whatever, it's not normal. But then also, like, it's not just one fix. It's not one magic pill. It's You have to look at your health in a little bit more broad way, right? Or I'll look at maybe a couple of different things: iron, ferritin. What else? Thyroid
B12,
indicators.
thyroid, those are typical things. And also, I would say hormones also to some degree, because women in certain stages of their life definitely have a higher chance of being low in testosterone. For example, like postpartum, after you have a baby, like you're not sleeping, your hormones are completely out of whack. And I'm not saying go and let's just supplement with testosterone right away. There's also other things you could do to boost the testosterone without taking testosterone, because some people are like, maybe I don't want to do that yet. Also, postmenopausal, in that menopausal time, women do typically fall low on testosterone. There's also natural ways you could boost the testosterone, but you actually have to do it, not just, sit around, feel not so great.
I think what would be someone where would someone be to realize, like, what is that mindset shift that needs to happen for someone? Because I think what the bigger problem is that we all think, you know what, like, this is just normal. I'm just getting older, or like, what would that not normal be, if you will?
So you're right. People are like saying, okay, I'm getting older, but it's not normal to feel like you're dying in your 40s. That's not normal. And the thing is that a lot of doctors and healthcare professionals, basically you come to them and like, well, what do you expect? Like, this is your age. Things start declining. And to some degree, they are correct. But we now have a more developed system of doing things and more access to certain supplements, to peptides that would actually help reverse some of that damage and to help give you your energy back. And why not? Are we ticking time bombs that we're going to just sit there, wait until our bones break and, feel like all hot and like not have the energy and just not feel well? And what happens a lot, because people don't know what to do with these patients, instead of doing things the right way, adjusting their hormones or giving them some kind of supplementation, adjusting how their lifestyle is, let's send them to psychiatry, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's send them to psychiatry instead. What happens is when we send them to psychiatry, we're still avoiding what has to be done. So
Yeah.
if a patient was to see a functional medicine provider instead of going to a psych for anxiety, depression, especially, I think the biggest crowd that this affects is like perimenopause women, because that's when the hormones kind of change things. They become very deficient in certain hormones, right? So the doctor doesn't know what to do. You know what? Go see a psychiatrist for your anxiety, depression, but if you fix their hormones, they don't have to be on that Ambien for sleeping, the Xanax for anxiety. And these medications have a lot of side effects. They're addictive. They can destroy people's lives. So it ends up being a more costly method in the long run. Instead of paying someone to fix their life the proper way, let's pay in other ways.
It's just weird that insurance companies and government, whoever, like, don't see that. Maybe they do, but I mean, the reality is that insurance companies make money on healthy people. Like, that's how they diversify risk, right? So the way premium and risk is calculated, sick people don't. That's where insurance companies lose money on. So it doesn't make sense. Why would preventative care not be a part of that business model? To me, it's mind blowing, to be honest with you. But that's probably a good topic for another conversation compared to this.
It's not their priority, let's just say. I mean, when we bill for certain codes, you bill an annual exam, and then most of the things that get covered are problems, abnormal labs, abnormal thyroid, abnormal cholesterol, abnormal sugar, diabetes, high blood pressure. There's no code for this. I mean, there is a code for fatigue, but you can't just keep billing a person for fatigue. You have to find a reason, and then you just have to put a band-aid on them, just give them a pill to solve that problem, and then they could keep coming every 3 months and we could adjust that problem. There's no way of fixing it. And to be honest with you, there's a lot of things out there that I'm not saying we have the magic cure, we're going to fix all your problems, but there's a high chance we can improve and we can make you more functional. And on a daily basis, you don't have to go to work where you're like, I can't do this anymore, I'm so tired, my brain doesn't work. And instead of fixing it the more alternative way, let's put an Adderall on you, which has like a short time frame of what it even works for. So now you're taking Adderall 3 times a day just so you can work in the morning, work in the afternoon, and then come home to clean and cook and do whatever. And now it's like, I need an Adderall just to clean my house on the weekends. And this is not a functional way of living. It's just not.
And what is because you mentioned perimenopause, and I think like I talk to different people daily, as an accountant, as a networker or whatever. People say, well, I'm like 36 and I'm perimenopausal. Like, what is actually truly normal to be perimenopausal or menopausal? Let's say, what is that age that's normal? That's really normal from not from the way we are currently perspective, but like what it should be, really.
So usually, I mean, what I've seen is on average, women, even in their late 30s, start feeling certain symptoms. And let's say until, I mean, it could be until 60. I have patients that have gone through menopause at 55. So it could be, I mean, I've also seen people in menopause in their 30s, which is very not normal. But they typically start feeling fatigue, they start feeling brain fog, they start feeling hot flashes. And a lot of times you'll come in and the doctor will basically just tell you, or the provider will tell you, that's normal because these are the symptoms. So, what can you really do for that? I mean, we could put you on even hormone replacement. A lot of doctors will not do it. They're very anti it. You have to ask them and you have to push them and you have to why? Because there's such a big stigma in the United States. There's black box warnings that it can cause breast cancer or uterine cancer or blood clots. But yet in other countries, I have people coming from other countries and they're like, my doctor prescribed this to me. What do you mean? We all get hormones there. So it's just an interesting thing once you see people from other countries. I'm not saying that what they're doing is 100% correct, what we're doing is 100% not correct, but it was such a stigma. We did have a lot of hormonal replacement. There was something in history that changed that where it's interesting. I need to go back and look into it where it originated from, but it all of a sudden became like a stigma and people don't want to do it. And then if they do it, we have to do a mammogram first. We have to do a pap smear first. We have to make sure there's no malignancies before. But think about it. If you're not taking hormonal replacement, you don't have to take hormonal replacement. Usually people just suffer it out. There's meds approved for hot flashes, which is considered to be an antidepressant. Um, how is that better though? And if you don't take it now, there's pros and cons to everything. So it's not like there's a right or wrong. It's how can you be functional if you can't go to work, if you can't work, and that's how bad it is. Are you really being functional? Are you living your day? Like, is that possible tiny small risk worth the reward of what you're going to feel like if like you don't have to deal with this if you replace your hormones? Wouldn't it be better if you on a day-to-day basis you could actually do everything you're supposed to do without feeling like you're dying every day? isn't that
That would
isn't
be
that
amazing.
isn't that better than like, okay, possible chance of this, but also if you don't take it, there's a possible chance your bones will break early. There's a possible chance that your marriage will suffer because, postmenopausal vaginal dryness, you need lubrication, your hormones are insane, your skin is worse. So it's like there's so many negatives to not taking it too. So you have to literally just weigh the risk and the benefits of what everything is. There's no right or wrong. It's what's right for you. If you're okay with suffering from hot flashes, if you're okay with brain fog, and you want to live like that on a daily basis, by all means, I'm not here to tell you you can't do that. If that's what your wish is, then I would love and honor your wish.
But like, I mean, hormones. I thought I saw that there maybe has been an overturn for those studies that show that HRT causes breast cancer, and like there are also bioidentical hormones now that are no different than what you already got or should have, right? I mean, how does that play into this?
Okay, so realistically, what I'm trying to say is the black box warnings, they blew up things way too much. Because yes, hormone replacement therapy can slightly increase the risk of certain cancers, but the first of all, like you said, the exact risk depends on the specific hormones used. And if you're using bioidentical, I don't think the risk is as high as if it's synthetic, for example. Um, if you don't use hormones, there's a very real risk you have osteoporosis also. So if you don't die from cancer, you could die from broken bones also. So it's like, what's I don't know, like what's the risk and benefit? And some people will argue, yes, there's a risk, but it's so tiny that it's unlikely, unless maybe maybe it's different if your family carries a high risk of breast cancer. Maybe then you would think twice about using it, right? Because that's a case by case scenario. But it's not like everyone has that risk. And by the time you get breast cancer, you might, I don't know, you might die from something else before that.
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, like even if there is a higher risk for someone individually, there are ways to monitor that to prevent it and stuff like that, right? I mean,
Yeah. Um, so yeah, but it's interesting because even though there is risks about like with it, I don't know why the other countries they don't. I guess they don't consider it as risky. I don't know because I haven't had education in those other countries, but it's so different there. Like there, it's like okay, I've been on this hormonal meds for a while. Can you just replace what I'm taking? And sometimes there's no equivalent, it doesn't exist because I don't know what they're using there. Maybe it's bioidentical, I'm not sure, but we don't have it. So it's very hard. You have to like start from fresh. You have to do a new workup because it's interesting. I'm wondering what the stigma is in other countries if there is a stigma.
yeah, it's definitely interesting, and it does sound. I mean, it does sound like honestly the answer is very clear as to why it is the way it is. I mean, we can't even have direct injection of stem cells into wounds in the U.S. But we do in other countries, in Mexico and Spain and Portugal, and like I've been to a couple of conferences where people who have clinics in those countries come and talk about stuff like that, and it's just to me it's mind blowing that. And I understand we need to control population or whatever. I don't know, but to me it's just kind of reverse psychology, if you will. Like it doesn't make sense. The risks are based on healthy people. The more we should have more healthy people, but then we're not doing anything to actually keep them more healthy. So that's actually cheaper for us as an insurance company. So, I mean, there are other obviously players, big players in here, involved in these decisions. But it's just like if somebody's listening to this and they're thinking, okay, like what do I even do? Like, and I've heard about NAD or I haven't heard about NAD. Talk just a minute about the NAD in general, but also what if someone like feels tired all the time? What should be their next step potentially?
So what their next step should be is, like I said, just to do a really detailed blood work, um, because they'd be surprised what they find. And if you're not deficient in something, which I'm a little skeptical because I think almost all my patients, even the ones that are like I'm super healthy, I could find some kind of abnormality. And it doesn't have to be like an obvious, like super, normal, like out of the norm abnormality where things get flagged, but it's something that I would find that their doctor wouldn't find. And I think those things need to be addressed. It's very important. So I think that's the first thing. And then the peptides are things that are already found in our bodies. They definitely help expedite ways to get more energy or whatever they're made for. It depends on the peptide. So it doesn't hurt to do that. Sometimes the peptides, they help repair our bodies. Like NAD, for example, it helps convert food into cellular energy. It supports DNA repair. And the thing is, NAD is something that the levels drop as you age. So if you do treatments by putting it back in your body, they and you boost the levels, they reduce fatigue and they do improve vitality. So it definitely helps. But I don't think one dosing of it is going to do a significant like okay, we're going to fix your fatigue problem. I think it has to be a course of a treatment over, and I can't give a definite how much what someone needs, but sometimes it could be like, maybe you're doing the NAD for 2 months and then we're repeating it because you're I mean, NAD, I don't I mean, depends. You can't just say everyone uses NAD. You have to. There's also some contraindications to it. So
Yes.
you can't also just can't say someone has cancer, for example, and they don't know they have cancer, and then they're going to the IV infusion, and I don't know who's approving it. Hopefully, someone is, and they get the infusion, and then I don't know, the cancer starts. It gives them the energy for the cancer cells to grow. I don't know. Like I said, this is something that has to be monitored. Someone has to be relatively healthy to get certain things. Not that every peptide has a contraindication, but I'm just giving an example of like when someone should not possibly get it. And that's why it's very important to see what's going on in your body before. If there's some real abnormalities, then you should need to figure that out first before you throw any more outside interventions.
Yeah, I've heard definitely that like NAD, because it also speeds up cell division. It also can speed up cancer cell division and growth and stuff. And so it's definitely something to. And like if you don't know that you have cancer, then you're like screwed a little bit.
Right. It's not like a
Okay,
big
so
population, but I mean, it does exist.
it exists for sure. Yeah, so definitely want some radiation-free screening and things like that. Probably right.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so we'll wrap up for today, but just talking about energy. If you're watching or listening, um, definitely something to consider is a kind of a more holistic approach to your body as opposed to just an NAD or some iron supplementation or any of these things. You need to figure out what's really going on there and why you don't have the energy where you should. I mean, you really should have the energy, honestly, at any age, right? And so there are ways to support that. But Elena, thanks so much for talking through some of this stuff, and we'll be back for more.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.